you guys never get to see this because the trees are here, but that's the Vice President's house. Yeah? You guys are always like, I can't see it. It's because the trees are always there, but the leaves have all blown off. And here at the U.S. Naval Observatory, where it's 11:39 in the morning, Washington, D.C. time, and U.S. government time, we're at the Vice President's mansion. That's the Vice President Pence. Soon to be Vice President Pence's house again, or Vice President Harris. We don't really know. Just a weird thing. And I think we're going to go down to the White House. Sidewalk closed. Well, that kind of sucks. That's the Vatican's embassy and Finland's embassy over there. Norway is back there. The Norwegian embassy is under repairs right now. I did vote. I voted for myself, as I usually do. I'm tan, ready, and rested. Ah. So we've got there is never any parking here anyway, but they've got special no parking signs up here for some reason. That's the Vice President's house just over there. You can see it. You can see the roof. So the roof of it's over there. Some sort of road work up ahead. Hey, how's it going? So we're on our way. We're on our way down to the White House to see some of the chaos. There was a stabbing last night at the White House. 3 people were stabbed as part of the protests. But other than that, it was pretty mellow. Mostly harmless, with 3 people stabbed. At least they weren't shot. So we're going to go down there and see what is going on. I'm not sure who got stabbed or why. On our way. So did you guys have a good night last night? I told my kids today's a special day. You can stay up late because this day only comes once every 4 years. And then my youngest son looked at me and said, "Is it February 29th?" And I was like, wow, what wisdom my son has. So up here, this is Embassy Row. These are mostly diplomatic missions. It's going to be very mellow for the first 20 minutes of this hike. And then we're going to cut in through downtown DC, and then we'll make her over to the White House. And that last bit of this hike, who knows what we're going to see. I don't know. I don't know. It's just too hard to predict because there's so many variables this election that professional pollsters have just never had to deal with. I mean, millions of absentee ballots and all sorts of chaos, and definitely a hidden. I thought about getting an e-bike. I did, but there aren't any here. This is a no parking zone because it's basically federal lockdown shit. Now they're starting to close the sidewalk. I'm just going to go around. So I got to cut across the street. On our way, on our way. And we're on the other side of the street now because Mr. Yellow Tape Man decided to close off that side of the street. Yeah. That's probably close enough for a recount in Wisconsin. I mean, technically, mathematically. I don't know what the rules are. I did hear he made a speech last night, but I was like sleeping. That was the advantage. When I lived in Hong Kong, I mean, we'd watch the election results during the day, you know. 9 o'clock in Washington is 9 a.m. in Hong Kong. So basically, everybody in the U.S. is passing out, falling asleep, and all the Hong Kong people are just watching the election results all night long. Now, the American Chamber of Commerce for Hong Kong does have like an election watch party at the American Club. But I don't know where they had it this year. If they had it because of COVID, they might not have had it. I guess they're putting in a new sidewalk. Really no need to tie up everything for that. Yeah, she runs and then she walks. Tell your sister she needs better form. So across the street is the British Embassy, but it's actually under renovation right now. So I'm not sure how many diplomats are actually in the British Embassy right now, because it's all gutted. Like 3 or 4 floors of it are just gutted. The weird thing I discovered the other day is that is not the Union Jack that is flying over the British Embassy, but that is a special British flag reserved for diplomatic compounds. So British embassies and consulates have a special version of the Union Jack, which has like a seal in the middle. I can show you there. I posted it on my Instagram. I didn't even know that. The problem with getting a job in the USA is that you need to get a visa for the USA. Jobs are easy to find. Visas are almost impossible right now. Due to COVID, the administration has basically stopped all visas for work purposes, with very few exceptions. There she goes again. She's running again. There's usually a bunch of deer around here. There's like 4 or 5 deer. Though they're doing a cull, so I don't know if they shot them or something. That's the British ambassador's residence. God, it looks like something out of the movie Brazil. There's like pipes going in everywhere. Again, also under renovation. Who is winning? Good question. I think if every state continued on its current trend, Biden would win by 2 or 3 electoral votes. So it's kind of hard to say. But in addition, the Republicans would win the Senate, and the Republicans would gain a tremendous number of seats in the House of Representatives, which is shocking to most Washington political types who were expecting a blue wave, as they call it. The blue wave did not. DC is always blue. DC is 93% Democrats. DC hasn't been competitive in 100 years. It's always been Democrat. That's why the Democrats want to make it a state, is to get 2 more Democratic senators. This is the South African Embassy. I'm walking. And over there is Bolivia. I wish I had a bike. I could get to the White House quicker and then I could walk around down there. But instead, I didn't bring a bike today. I thought about getting a scooter, but I haven't even seen any scooters. It is a good hike. This is the old Moroccan embassy. And I don't know what they're renovating it or something. I don't think anybody else wants it because it's got like a giant blue mosque in the back of it. That's Brazil's embassy. Actually, Kazakhstan. No, we're going past the Kyrgyz Republic, not Kazakhstan, but Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan's embassy will be up in about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll see Kyrgyzstan. That's Brazil. Brazilian ambassador lives next door to Brazil. This is an embassy that's currently on the market for draft picks or future consideration. If you've got a couple minor league players, we could make a deal. So buildings are zoned for diplomats. So this building needs to be used by an embassy. But right now there's no embassy in the market. Costa Rica. I don't know where Costa Rica is. We actually went past Honduras the other day. Costa Rica probably has like an office in a major building. I don't know if they have a freestanding building. Many smaller countries just rent office space and convert that to their diplomatic quarters rather than building a gym. The White House is about 20 to 30 minutes away. We're on our way to the White House. The White House is at 16th Street, and right now I'm at, where am I? I'm at like 29th Street, and then I've got to go down about 20 blocks too. 15 blocks. I got to go 15 blocks south and about 15 blocks east. So a bit of a, we're going to see the White House, but it's going to be about a half hour. It's going to take a while to get there. Though I did go down there 2 days ago. If you look at my old periscopes, you can see the White House. We're actually going to go by the Turkish Embassy in just a minute. Turkey is just the other side of the bridge. Oh, Engine Company 1. I do like to walk. That's one of the president's fire trucks. It's one of the fire stations assigned to White House protection. But it also comes up to the Vice President's house, which is where we started this hike. Canada's far away. Canada's embassy is by the Capitol building. It's one of the largest embassies in the city, but it's not in the diplomatic sector. Canada said, hey, we're that important, we want to be right in the heart of the city. I don't want to ride in an Uber in the middle of a pandemic. It's too sketchy. I prefer to walk. So now we're going over the bridge. On the left you see Rock Creek, which is a big creek. And on the right you see a parkway of cars, which is known as the Rock Creek Parkway. No, they don't really sleep in the embassies, but some embassies do actually have diplomatic quarters where they have like accommodation. Mostly like the ex-Soviet, like the Russian embassy and the Chinese. They have private diplomatic quarters where their staff are allowed to sleep. In fact, in Hong Kong, the U.S. has a number of buildings that they own for diplomats to sleep. There's a tiny little fence. There's been a fence up around there's been a fence up around the White House for like 100 years, yeah? And then they put up a second fence due to the George Floyd protest. And then between those two fences, they put up yet another fence. So it's just kind of like, how many fences can we put up? Oh, here's some escort police bikes. Little sidecar. Whee! So those are vice presidential escort bikes. When the vice president goes to lunch or something, he has about 20 of those guys in front of him who clear the road. So they're probably on their way up to the vice president's house. There's probably going to be a movement in the next hour, meaning the vice president's going to go get lunch or something. So this is a Muslim center, cultural center. I don't know if it's technically called a mosque because it's called a cultural center. I don't know if it's actually the same. I don't really know, I'm sorry to say. Behind this is Barack Obama's house. So Barack Obama lives down to my left. On the other side of the street is the Russian Spy Center, the Russian Defense Attaché, and behind the Russian Defense Attaché is Ivanka Trump's house. But out here on the main street is the Turkish Embassy. That is a Spanish diplomatic building over there. That's the Spanish mission to the Organization of American States. So that's kind of just like, not an embassy, but a diplomatic post. So Barack Obama lives at the end of the street. You can see there's a police car down there, which has a big get lost kind of attitude. We're seeing embassies all up and down the street. So I can't really go down there because, well, the cops won't let me. All right, so here's an embassy on the left with this blue, what is this, Barbados or something? I think I looked this one up. PC, diplomatic code PC. I'm not sure what country. Oh, Belize. This is Belize Embassy. And then this is Turkey. Turkey has a big embassy. The Turkish ambassador's house, though, is farther down the street. So this is the Turkish embassy. This is relatively new. This is built like 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago. Probably finding out the election. On the other side of the street is the Japanese embassy. That's the former Indian embassy. Now it's the Indian consulate, where they do their visa sections, their visa work. Well, you live in this town, you start to pick up this stuff. So the Japanese have an embassy. The Japanese ambassador's residence is actually bigger than the embassy. The Japanese ambassador's residence is huge. Just huge. And it's like, there's another part of town there, you can see the Japanese flag flying. Who do we have also down here on the left? Another flag coming up on the left. I don't know. Estonia? No, Lesotho. Lesotho, the African nation. So this is the Embassy of Lesotho. Wakanda forever. So this is the old Japanese embassy down here on the right. This is where on December 7th, 1941, the diplomats were spotted burning all the documents in a trash can. So this is the Japanese embassy during World War II. So on Pearl Harbor Day, they were told, burn all your sensitive documents. So the FBI drove by, they saw them burning all the documents. They're like, wonder what that's all about. And it looks like I have to cross the street. So hang on a second, we're gonna push a button. Some construction here is really annoying. Okay, I'm good on the left. On the right, I got two guys. Oh, you guys are asking about guards. Okay, so inside the embassies, all the embassies have their own private security force, usually ex-cops or military from their countries. Outside, where I am right now, security is provided by the U.S. Secret Service. The U.S. Secret Service, a uniform division, is in charge of exterior embassy security. So I no doubt we will probably see one or two U.S. Secret Service uniformed vehicles back and forth on the street. Yeah. That's kind of how I left it. Now that is the Venezuelan ambassador's residence. But the United States doesn't recognize the current government of Venezuela, and we refuse to let their ambassador live here. So it's kind of empty. Yeah, the rich people live back behind these embassies. There's a neighborhood. That's where Ivanka Trump lives behind this building, actually. Now, this is the South Korean embassy. The South Koreans have like 4 or 5 big buildings down here. One is dedicated just to K-pop. Actually, it is the Korean Cultural Building, but it's not only K-pop. Now that, I think, that's the Zaire Embassy. Embassy of Zaire. And it's being renovated right now. I don't know why all these embassies are being renovated. This one I never figured out. This is part of the Mexican embassy. But I think it's actually like an apartment. It's not the actual Mexican embassy, because the Mexican embassy is downtown. So that one I never have figured out what that is. There's like cars everywhere. That's why I kind of think it's like used as an apartment, because there's a bunch of old cars there. What do we have over here? Oh, guys, we got Jeff Bezos' house coming up. This is Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. Everything is bigger, yeah. Cars are huge here. I think that's where the roads. So down this street, I can't see it now. So you see this house on the right here? I mean, my finger there. This house behind my big fingernail, yeah? That's Jeff Bezos' house. Jeff Bezos is the founder of Amazon and the richest man in the world. That's where he lives. Ivory Coast. Woodrow Wilson used to live next door. That is the Embassy of Chad. Though I always got that flag confused with Romania, because that really looks like a Romanian flag. And then this building right here is the Dutch Embassy, the Embassy of the Netherlands. We got over here, name the flag, name the flag. Republic of Malawi. This is Malawi's embassy. African nation. This is the United Arab Emirates Education Ministry. Educational Affairs Office. That's Cameroon's embassy. Cameroon, but they're renovating. It's amazing how many embassies are being renovated. Don't know what that flag is. White, green, and red. Don't know that flag. Embassy of Madagascar. Okay, this is Madagascar. This is the South Korean Cultural Affairs Office. There's Cameroon. Cameroon is next to Croatia. Croatia is right there. They have a statue of St. Jerome in front of their embassy. I haven't heard that. So difficult. This is the Kyrgyz Republic. This is Kyrgyzstan. But I guess they go by Kyrgyz Republic now. And this is the ambassador's car because the ambassadors have a 001 license plate. So that was a diplomatic license plate for country code YY. And then 001 means it's the ambassador. So don't F with him. South African embassy was back a while ago. This is Pakistan. This is their old embassy they're trying to like sell. They're like fixing it up to sell, I think. And next to Pakistan is the poorest country in the Americas. That's Haiti's embassy. The Haitian embassy is right there. And next to the Haitians are the Chileans, Chile. There are a uniformed Secret Service division that patrols this area. I've seen one or two cars. The embassies have their own private security inside, but outside the uniformed division of the Secret Service will provide protection for all embassies and diplomatic missions. And they're all over the place. They're everywhere. In fact, they also do former presidents. So Obama's house and Clinton's house are both guarded by uniformed Secret Service. This is Egypt, I think. Next to Egypt is Philippines. This is Philippines. That's Vietnam. Then Kenya. So Vietnam is one of our newest embassies. We just established diplomatic relations with Vietnam during the Obama administration. This is another South Korean. I think this is the South Korean consulate. This is where you do your visa and passport work. In this building. This is the Latvian embassy, a former Soviet republic, where most people say that Latvian women are the most beautiful women in the world. I've seen polls, and I've seen some Latvian women who sort of actually back up that idea. This is the Turkish ambassador's house. They have parking in the back. And also, they're diplomats. They can just park anywhere. They're not going to get a ticket. Well, they get a ticket, but they're not forced to pay their tickets. That's the Turkish ambassador. This is the Romanian embassy. The French embassy is kind of far away. But the French ambassador lives up there. He has one of the nicest houses in the entire city. The French ambassador's house is palatial. That's the Greek embassy. The Greeks have like 5 or 6 buildings down here. This is the Irish embassy. Free Guinness every Friday after work. They have a big party in their pub. They have a pub in the basement. I'm kidding. Maybe. So that's your Irish embassy. We're about 10-15 minutes from the White House. Yeah, it's a pretty posh street. There's a ton more embassies back up in there behind these houses, but I don't have time to walk through that. This is Bahamas, the embassy of the Bahamas. It's not cold. They don't pay for parking for the same reason we don't pay for parking tickets in their country. But the United States, in a very strange thing, Senator Jesse Helms, one of the most conservative senators ever, and then Senator Schumer, who's the leader of the Democrats, they once got, this is another Turkish embassy, and this is Luxembourg. So anyway, Jesse Helms, and I think it was Schumer from New York, or maybe it was Cuomo at the time, they got together and they wrote a law. They said, any country that does not pay their parking tickets will find their foreign aid donations from the United States reduced by double the price of the outstanding tickets. So if you owe $1 million in parking tickets, you will find your foreign aid from the United States cut by $2 million. So that was sort of a way to spur on some of these embassies and diplomats to paying their tickets. Now, of course, some countries we don't have foreign aid programs, so they're like, yeah, double nothing is nothing. This guy's doing, he's lost. So, but some countries were very, very quick to pay their outstanding parking tickets. Tom, I can't even pronounce this dude's name. Thomas Garug Masarek. Look who this guy is. He's a Czechoslovakian philosopher. Okay. That's a private club. That's the Cosmos Club, I think. Died in 1937. Why is it like campaign ad? Look at this. So I'll let you ask it. Is this a campaign ad or is that an ad for like an ambulance chasing lawyer? Yeah? It is like, they're the same looking ads. So we're coming up to Dupont Circle and then we're going to cut down to the White House. We're going to start to see buildings that are all boarded up as preparation for chaos. This is Anderson House. This is the Society of Cincinnati. This is like the Daughters of American Revolution, but you have to be descendant from someone who served in the colonial army. Not the militia, but the colonial army during the Revolution. That's the Indian Embassy over there on the left. Yeah. So that's the main Indian Embassy. They have a statue of Gandhi out here, which, for reasons I never really understood, during the Black Lives Matter protest, people attacked the Gandhi statue. I think it's because he was like, they considered him racist in South Africa. Not sure. This is a big private hotel. It is all boarded up. So we're going to start to see more of this Maldivian. I'm not sure where their embassy is. I think we only have like one more embassy to see, two more maybe, before we leave, technically leave Embassy Row and head over to the White House. No, I'm not sure which DuPont it was named after. It had a rather derogatory name for a number of years. People used to call it Fruit Loop. This was 30 years ago, because it used to be the homosexual neighborhood. Now, of course, that is not a politically correct term, so they don't call it that anymore. This is the Indonesian Embassy. They've got a big old... It's a beautiful building. That's the Indonesian Embassy, and they got a big statue back here. This is Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo's embassy. You can get Juventus shirts here. Okay, we're at 20th Street, 20th and P, and the White House is at 16th and basically I Street. So, what is that? I-K-L-M-N-O. So 5 blocks north of the White House, 4 blocks east of the White House. But I'm going to take a direct road and try to do the hypotenuse of that triangle. Yeah, Hong Kong has changed. Sadly, I'm not there. I was on the phone with a lot of people in Hong Kong last night. They were kind of wondering what was going on. I was like, I don't know, I'm going to bed. You guys watch and tell me what goes on in the morning. So, whoa, this guy's flying. There goes Brown. How come Brown doesn't have like brown face masks? All the drugstores are locked up. Okay, so Dupont Circle kind of marks the start of downtown. So, and as we get closer and closer to the White House, we'll see more and more places boarded up. The White House, hey, is just down this road. This is Connecticut Avenue. That's going to take us directly into the White House in about 5 or 6 blocks. So we're about 5 to 10 minutes to the White House from now. No sound. I just wasn't saying anything. Yeah, now though I can't really get a scooter because I'll shut down my Periscope when I get a scooter. Okay, so I'm going to take this mask off. I'm going to switch to a different mask now because this other one was getting just too hot. DC law requires us to wear a mask in public. So, unless you're, quote, strenuously exercising. Krispy Kreme. Donuts. How much is the subway in DC? I don't even know. I think it's like $2. I never ride it. Donuts. Yes, I am going back to Hong Kong to visit in a few months. To live, I don't know when that's going to be. We go back and forth on that question. Yeah, they had protesters in Poland, too. Huge protests in Poland I saw the other day. Across the street, you can see some boarded up buildings. Well, technically, the results aren't due for a couple weeks. It literally takes a couple weeks to prepare the true, formal, audited, verified results that they send to the Congress and whatnot. So, in an election this close, it could be a while. We'll do all right.
I used to get cider all the time.
I voted for myself, as I do every election. I never win, though. Maybe I should find a new strategy. Okay, so we're getting closer and closer to the White House. More and more places are boarded up. In fact, the last 2 blocks, everything will be boarded up. There were a smattering of protesters last night, but most people were home watching it on TV. The other thing was yesterday, this kind of sounds funny, yesterday was really cold. I mean, like, the coldest day we've had all year. So the idea of like going out to the White House to dance around and prance in the street when there was no result in the freezing cold, a lot of people said, screw that. Let's go out a couple days later when they figure it all out. What should I eat today? Always the conundrum. I think I'm going to have pho for dinner. I think I'm going to have Vietnamese noodles for dinner. I haven't done a noodle scope in so long. Maybe we should do a noodle scope tonight. As I was telling you kids earlier, I let my kids stay up late last night. I said, boys, today is a historic day. These kind of days only happen once every 4 years. My youngest son chimed up and said, oh, is it February 29th? I was just like, no. Had to think there for a minute, though. And that's what the kids like, you know? February 29th, every 4 years we have a February 29th. It's a leap day. It happens once every 4 years due to the spin of the Earth's rotation around the sun being 365 and 1/4 days. Every February 29th we have an extra day. That's the kind of things that kids get in their head and remember as being like really important. It's February 29th. I barely walked probably 2 miles. I think it's about 3 miles to the White House from my house. Yeah, it's worldwide. I mean, if we follow our calendar. Yeah. Okay, so we're now we're about 3 or 4 blocks from the White House. You're going to see a lot of buildings boarded up. Some people are like, hey, we're yoga. Why would they attack a yoga store? And they probably have a thing. Last time they were attacking glass, they were like stealing glasses and frames. T-Mobile, well, that'd be a target. A lot of good phones there. A pub, I don't know why they closed up. That is actually the time at the U.S. Naval Observatory is the official time of the United States government. So when they say submit your taxes by 12 o'clock midnight, that is the clock that they actually use. That is the U.S. government's atomic clock, time server, which is coordinated with the atomic clocks at Greenwich and other master clocks around the world. So when the U.S. military uses time, they also use that time as being official Washington, D.C. time. Yeah. This is a French bakery that's boarded up. God forbid there's a run on macaroons. I think we're in for a really interesting 6 weeks of legal machinations and constitutional challenges. It's going to be interesting. The Gap did not close up. The White House is straight ahead. Obama's in his house, I think, back where we were earlier on the hike by the Turkish Embassy. And Biden's in Delaware, I think, just chilling. Constitutional law scholars are really excited. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to get to write a book about all the stuff that happens in the next 2 months. The Spy Museum is on the other side of the mall, so it's actually a bit of a hike, not a mile from the White House. I got to go around the White House, and then across the Washington Monument, through a couple museums, and then I'm at the Spy Museum. Hello! Totoro no toro, totoro no toro. I haven't watched Totoro in a while. That's kind of a chill movie. Maybe I should chill out today watching Totoro. The FBI building is down around 9th Street. I'm at about 16th Street. So it's a bit of a hike. The Spy Museum, they have a news finder. Totoro. T-O-T-O-R-O. Totoro. Which is a Japanese anime, one of probably the most famous Japanese cartoons of all time, dealing with a Totoro, which is a forest spirit that protects small children in times of need. And it's just a really chill movie. I mean, very chill. But Totoro, and it was from Studio Ghibli, but the US rights were bought by Disney, who redubbed it into English and released it in the US. Yeah, Dragon Ball is a little bit more violent. You may have seen Spirited Away, which won the Oscar Award for Best Animated Feature. That came from the Ghibli studios as well. And there are a lot of other classic Studio Ghibli movies. Ponyo, Arity, The Borrowers. Yeah, the Russians are a little off. So we got to cut through this street. You can see we got to. Hey, let's tell you what. Let's go down Black Lives Matter Plaza, because that's probably where there's more protesters. Howl's Moving Castle. That's a good one. Yeah. Listen, if you got young kids, especially if you have daughters, Studio Ghibli is an amazing collection of films. They frequently have a female hero in the story, so the main character is often a young female, which relates to many daughters and stuff. The giant Black Lives Matter sign we're going to see in one block. This is 17th Street. We're going to 16th Street, and that's where it is. It is. Well, there was a stabbing last night. 3 people were stabbed last night at the protest. Oh, all the streets around the White House are blocked. All the streets around the White House. Yeah, it's spelled Totoro, T-O-T-O-R-O. And Ghibli is spelled G-H-I-B-L-I. G-H-I-B-L-I. But Totoro is fun. I've often wanted to go as a Totoro for Halloween. Actually, most of the streets are blocked off with garbage trucks and snow plows. But we did see some armored cars the other day. There are a few police armored vehicles inside the grounds. And of course, snipers on the roof, anti-aircraft missile batteries on the standby. We're going to get pretty close, yeah? But not as close as we normally get to the White House. Normally we can get right up to the fence, but not today. All right, guys, this is Black Lives Matter Plaza. That's where all the media is set up, and there you can see the big letters, Black Lives Matter. I can go right up to the garbage trucks. Keep your social distance. Black. So you guys may have seen this picture. They did paint this whole street. I will say, like, the St. Regis is not really that thrilled. They've basically lost street access to their hotel. I can't tell if these people are talking to themselves or talking on the phones. There are a lot of crazy people around here. TV crews having lunch. The White House is just ahead. It's like 2 blocks, 1 block. That's why you see the media doing their stand-ups here. This is mostly international media. American media is too busy with their little maps. Roads are blocked off with police. crappy photo because the sun's in the background. There's probably more media than there are protesters. Now we see a SWAT team up here, a riot team. Now this is the church where Trump waved the Bible. I remember that. She's doing a stand-up with an iPhone. German TV, Dutch TV, French TV, Moroccan TV. It's like nobody here. This crazy man yelling. Guy begging for money. Yeah, like I said, it's more media than there are protesters. Now, the White House is... There's the White House. Now you can see there's the fence they just added the other day. Is that fence in there. This dude yelling? I don't know what he's telling. No, these posters don't get removed. They're pretty much up here all the time. These are people that were killed by the police. Now, if I wasn't... If I didn't have if I wasn't broadcasting, I could be on TV. There's literally like 5 or 6 protesters here.
This is the end of the time. This is the fulfillment of prophecy.
No, this is all even more wacky than Biden era is. This is like... So there are some people that just, I swear, there are some people who exist solely to come to these things to get interviewed. This church that got burnt. Okay, there was a small fire in the basement of this church right here, but it wasn't burned out. They lit a bookcase on fire in the basement, and then it was put out by the police. But it's actually this is one of the oldest churches in the city. No, it's not an upscale fence. They say, this is unassailable. I'm like, shit, I could climb this. I think any farm boy looks at this and is like, yeah, I could climb that. Hey, Chantel TV is here, guys. Chantel is a periscoper from Paris. If you want to see what's going on in Paris every day, you can follow Chantel. They're not selling anything today. Usually, they used to be selling like Black Lives Matter stuff. But right now, just screaming and yelling. Where should we go, guys? What time is it? It's 12:20. I need to be back. I gotta get back to school. I'm gonna go meet my kid in an hour and a half. I'm gonna make our way over towards Georgetown because I need to get some lunch. Oh, bike cops. These are the riot cops. Riot cops ride bikes. Where's the guy screaming? So this is the section that was cleared out by the police, so Trump could go in there. This dude's been here like all day. Lunch? I don't know. That's the thing is that I actually am a farm boy. I actually grew up in the country. That's why I was so amazed. I end up in Hong Kong for farm events. These guys are live on their iPhone. So the White House itself is right back over there. Did Mexico pay for this wall? Interesting stuff. Yeah, I used to walk beans, and I've detasseled corn. I don't think they do detasseling anymore. It's all automatic. You don't have to walk through with a machete anymore. Well, if you climb this fence, you've got a second fence. And if you climb that fence, there's another fence. And then if you climb that fence, there's yet another fence. And by that time, you'd be intercepted by Secret Service. It's pretty mellow right now, to be honest. Okay, so I tell you what. Should I just end it or should I just keep walking? Yeah, there's basically 4 fences. There's just a lot of fences. Alright. Keep walking. How far I walked? It's about 3 miles. We'll walk back to Georgetown. Maybe we'll find some lunch in Georgetown. This is the Stephen Decatur house. Stephen Decatur was a naval commander in the Philippines, I guess it was. But now this is the White House Historical Society, and they sell a Christmas ornament every year. Every year they issue the official White House Christmas ornament, and it becomes this like hotcake seller. They sell millions of these Christmas ornaments. I'm not kidding, and it costs like $15. So they'll sell 2 million, 3 million Christmas ornaments, and then they use that money to pay for operations and stuff of the White House Historical Society. So we'll go over here around the corner. They've got license plate readers on the back of this police car. Do you see that? See those little black things? Those are license plate readers. So they can drive next to you and see if they want to pull you over. Unassailable? I don't see how this is unassailable. I mean, I could jump this. So these are uniformed Secret Service police vehicles here. These are the guys who do embassy security and exterior perimeter security. This is actually a Secret Service officer here. Parking duty. There's a Secret Service bicycles in there. That's a riot. The bicycles are used for riot response. And these vans are all Secret Service, Homeland Security. Ooh, there's a doggy. Police dog. Police dogs inspecting a bicycle. These are all Secret Service. Oh, there's a step up this fence. The White House is behind the fence. So the White House is just over there. These fences are designed to be locked in for protesters. The dummy's got a shield.
Right.
That's a protester with a shield. Guess he wants to have a fight. Okay. Why are there gaps? Because people have to go to work. People have to get into the White House and work. There's no real protesters right now, so they can open up the fence. cars have to come in and stuff. But like, if they go into lockdown, then they could just lock up all the fences. I guess it's green, I can go. So the White House, the yellow sand-colored house you see is the Blair House. That's the official guest residence of the White House. The other buildings are all presidential agencies and stuff. Park Police. Old Emmett's on the other side, and I'm not even sure it's open to sit down either. The only thing that's really open is carry-out. So you have to like get carry-out food and then go. Oh, sorry, I missed that comment. What was that? I am married. I have 2 kids. And no, she doesn't realize how smart I am. My wife is like, did you make any money? Does you being smart make any money? If not, then I don't care. Mitch McConnell is, he works up at the Senate. That's up at the Capitol, which is about 2 miles from here. I was originally going to walk you to the Capitol, but I just don't have the time today. I've got to I got to pick up my kid at about an hour from now at his school. Hello, Carrie. We're now going to walk down. This is actually Foggy Bottom, George Washington University. But the next 3 or 4 buildings you see on my left will be the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The boys are in half school. They go 1 week in school and then spend 1 week at home. So today is the last in-person day. Tomorrow they'll be online only. So this is the World Bank headquarters. It had the best cafeteria in the city because it was an international cafeteria. I don't practice anymore. I'm more in tech. I do other stuff. But a lot of my work is in Europe right now, and well, I can't really go to Europe. So my team is going to Europe in 2 weeks, but I can't really go with them. It's a great cafeteria. In fact, the Chinese chef used to be the chef at the Chinese Embassy, and then he moved over here, and he makes all sorts of like cool stuff. He actually is operating like out of his garage now. The World Bank has a visitor center which is open to the public, but generally the main building is not open. But if you know somebody who works at the World Bank, they can take you to lunch there. So knowing somebody who works at the World Bank or at the IMF, which is right over there, you can get into the World Bank cafeteria. So we're heading to Georgetown now, which is also all boarded up. Georgetown's probably about a mile. This is going to take us about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to get to Georgetown. So those who follow me at home, we're at about 19th and Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest. Hello, Whit. It's funny, a lot of the Georgetown graduates I knew actually were like closet Notre Dame fans. They said, yeah, Georgetown football was so awful. We just all decided we had to root for a Catholic university, so we all decided to root for Notre Dame. Oh, okay. These guys, this is the, I think this is the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and it looks like they are sealing up now in anticipation of trouble. Yeah, I was classmates with Amy Coney Barrett. Yeah, this is an interesting design. Keep them off the wall. International Monetary Fund. The IMF actually has this really cool waterfall. It's not turned on right now. But in the summer, you can come out here and just sort of like lean up against it, get cooled off. Yeah, you're soaking wet. But. Do I know Amy Coney Barrett personally? I did in law school. We were Facebook friends until she deactivated her Facebook a couple years back. If I was to run into her on the street right now, she'd probably recognize me and I'd probably recognize her. But we don't stay in touch very much. We weren't in the same crowd at Notre Dame. But she was a really nice person. She was always like friendly whenever I chatted with her. I did have a couple classes with her, but I didn't have my core classes with her. So I tell the story. I've told you guys this story too. When you go to law school, so there were two sections of constitutional law. One section was taught by Professor Kelly, who worked for Kenneth Starr. The other section was taught by Professor Garvey, who's now the president of Catholic University. So I won the award for the top student in constitutional law in Professor Garvey's class. And Amy Coney Barrett won the award for top student in Professor Kelly's class. So at one time guys, we were right there, we were equal, yeah? Now, Amy Coney Barrett's done a little bit more in the field of constitutional law over the last 25 years than I have. Just a tad. But at one time, we both had the same grade in con law. Woohoo! I will say this, I took advanced con law with Amy Coney Barrett. I took First Amendment law, and then I took natural law with her. And in some of those classes, I was listening to her talk, and I was just like, dude, you should be teaching this class. I was just like, whoa. I mean, yeah, she was, that's what people have asked me. I didn't know her that well. She didn't party, we didn't go out to we didn't hang out together or anything like that. But what I knew from her in class was absolutely brilliant, the most brilliant student I've ever met in my entire academic career. And second, she was just a really nice person. I mean, she just was, at a personal level, she was just actually a really nice person. So, I mean, that's pretty much, people ask me, I've actually had the media ask me, what can you say about her? And I just said those two things. And then since I didn't have anything juicy, they did like, okay, thank you for your comments. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. It was funny on our school. So we have a private Facebook group for our graduating class from Notre Dame Law, and they're like, okay, does anyone have any updates? And like, person's like, oh yeah, Steve is in Idaho, has gotten a new dog. Jennifer has a new baby, and Amy Coney Barrett was nominated for the Supreme Court. It's like, okay. That's kind of funny. But it was interesting. I was chatting with others, and I stopped by Notre Dame Law School a few years ago. You guys remember when I drove across country a couple years ago? I took my kids to Notre Dame, and we went to her office, but she was not in that day. We were going to say hi to her and a couple other professors. Yeah. I don't know what the tuition is now. I am sure it's probably up that way. When I was in law school, tuition and fees was about $18,000 US. $18,000 US. And then I moved to Hong Kong, like 15 years later. I moved to Hong Kong, and the tuition and fees for my kid's daycare were like his preschool were $18,000 a year. It's just like, my kid is learning to like pee, and for the same price I learned the law. Actually, I was looking it up the other day. My tuition, undergraduate, tuition, housing, and fees when I was an undergraduate was $2,000 US a year. $2,000 US, because I went to a state school. And I remember, because I lived at home, and the school gave me a financial aid award for housing. And I'm like, but I live at home. And they're like, dude, this is free money. Shut up. I'm like, okay. So, like my first couple years of college, I actually made a profit. Yeah. I lived at home, and I was getting like an extra grand every year for rent I didn't pay. I was like, sweet. But for law school, I took out loans. I paid them all off too. God, that was a happy day. I actually have a couple photos. I have a photograph of myself paying off my loans, like signing the last check. I'm not from Indiana. I'm from Illinois, which is kind of like Indiana, but kind of not. I grew up about 30 or 40 miles west of Indiana border. We used to go to Terre Haute, Indiana. Ooh, Terre Haute, because that was like a big city. It's like, ooh, God, guys, pack the car. We're going to Terre Haute. Woo! That's just how you lived in the 70s, you know? So much different than today. I was actually showing some photos to my kids. So I remember the first time I was ever in England, I remember saying to myself, I should take a picture of the cars on this street so I can show my kids one day that cars drive on the other side of the road than they do in the US. It seems so quaint now. This is Washington Circle. That's the statue of George Washington. Right over here is George Washington University. That is George Washington Hospital. That used to be George Washington Hospital. That's where President Reagan was taken when he was shot in the assassination attempt in 1981, which took place up that road about half a mile. So we are on the campus of GW. GW is actually kind of quasi-closed right now. I think a lot of the students have been told to stay home, though I think there are some students around. GW has changed a lot in the last 20 years. They built a lot of buildings and stuff. This scooter got attacked. So this building back here with the black, that's the Spanish Embassy. They have the facade of the old colonial buildings, but then in the back is colonial. I guess it's not really colonial, isn't it? I'm so used to talking Hong Kong standards. The old townhouses. And then in the back is the modern embassy. You know what? Condo in Georgetown, you know, this is something interesting. Condos in Georgetown are a bad investment. Condos in Georgetown do not go for that much. I mean, not even that much more than when I saw them 20 years ago. Houses in Georgetown have doubled. Okay, doubled. But condos in Georgetown have sort of remained the same fixed price. I'm not sure why. It is surprising. I don't know, but I mean, I remember looking at a condo in Georgetown for like $250,000. And I think I was looking the other day and I saw a condo in Georgetown for like $260,000. I was just like, huh? What? I think the condo buildings are not that desirable. And I think there's like problems. Yeah, we just did Embassy Row, but now we're going back to Georgetown because, well, it's there. What do you guys think I should eat today? Barbecue chicken? Barbecue chicken is kind of on my list, but the problem with the barbecue joint is when you eat barbecue carryout, it just doesn't have the same joie de vivre about eating. It's just sort of like, ugh. Pho is for dinner. Pho, I've got Vietnamese on tap for dinner. My son has a soccer practice tonight at a soccer field I don't normally go to that often, but I do remember that next to it is a good Vietnamese restaurant. So maybe we'll do a noodle scope. I'm not a big curry guy. I used to eat a lot of spicy food. I don't know what happened, but I used to eat really spicy Thai food. And then one day my body just said, hey, cut it out. I'm getting old. I can't handle this crap. I was like, oh, okay. And so I really dialed it on the spicy stuff. I'm not sure why that is. The scooter companies actually pay Uber drivers to go around the city and grab all the scooters and recharge them. I think you get like $5 US per scooter that you charge. So you see these Uber guys at the end of the day with a car full of like 20 or 30 scooters, and they charge them up at night. The first food was the barbecue chicken at Rockland's. It's just I haven't had that many great experiences with it. There's not a lot of good stuff to eat right now. Oh, I got a stick. Ooh, got a stick. I was watching Meet the Robinsons the other night, which is a cartoon. One of my favorite lines is like, so the villain is tracking the kid, yeah? And he finds a stick. He's like, ooh, this is a clue. And then his robot comes up, and the robot's like, I've detected time travel residue. I've detected the DNA of this individual connected to the time travel ship. And then the guy's like, you know what that means? With your evidence and this stick, it means he probably got in a time travel machine. I'm just like, oh, wait. All that and this stick. Yeah. I once had a water and sewer guy come out with a dividing rod to tell me where a pipe was. He says, do you happen to know where the pipe runs? And I'm like, this guy's so full of crap. And I said, yeah, the pipe turns right, and then it goes down there, and then it goes this way. So he goes out with his little dividing rod, and lo and behold, it finds the pipe. Of course, there was no pipe. I made it up, yeah? So then I said, oh, hey, hang on, I found a map. Guess what? The pipe goes the opposite direction. Ha! Well, I didn't really do it to him, but I just sort of like put it out there. He's like, oh, okay, let's go with what the map says. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. With your evidence and this stick. Meet the Robinsons is actually a pretty cool movie. I like it a lot. I actually realized I kind of like utopian visionary films. Like films in which we get to like a utopian society, or at least a more advanced than the current crop of dystopian films that seem to always be about. That was an interesting comment I once read about someone actually wrote to Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, and said, you know why I really like your films? You know why I like Star Trek? Because it shows that we actually survive. We actually get to the next level. We don't kill ourselves in some dystopian hellhole, but we actually make it to the next round. I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting take on Star Trek. How can I read on the comments and say, well, lots of practice. But I do miss a lot of your comments sometimes because I'm trying to avoid a heroin needle, or someone's going to come up to me, or there's a cop chasing me. Like, hey, what are you doing here, kid? Here he comes. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Tribbles. In Hong Kong, it was easier to do because everybody walks around with their phone in their hand, so I look more normal. Here, I look slightly out of place, but there's enough crazy people and mentally, damaged that they don't really think about it. Scratching my foot. Okay, guys, we're in Georgetown, 28th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. Now we're going to walk through the retail section of Georgetown. Hey, there might be a food truck. Yeah. There was like a little Korean bowl place I used to go to all the time, but not anymore. That reminds me, what time is it? 12:51. My Apple Watch is like, I've just noticed you're out for a walk. Oh, duh. Who's going to win the election? The person with more votes. Da-da-da. I'm not going to tell you who won, but I can tell you who lost. It's pretty clear the media has lost, and the polling community has lost. The media is quite out of touch with a large number of people, and the polling people, this is actually a politics bookstore. I've got this book. I've got this book. Bought this for my kids. I've not read that. That book I know. We know who wrote that now. Actually, I have that book. We haven't read it. Of course, I have that. Yeah, Cafe Tutu. I was telling my wife, once I decide to retire, I'm either going to open a bookstore selling obscure books or a model train store, because it's just weird enough to not care. Oh, look at all the stores boarded up in Georgetown. Anyway, I was supposed to check what time it was. 12:50 something. All right, I gotta kind of skedaddle. We're gonna take you down to the center of Georgetown, then we're gonna end because I gotta get back up to the school, and I gotta eat. Nike is boarded up, Amazon as well, pretty much everything except this little block here. More of this stuff was unblocked, but the next 2 blocks, most of the stuff is boarded up. Apple Store, Polo is boarded up. Gumbo. There's actually a crawdad place back by the zoo, which is a little bit far from here. But there's like a Louisiana crawdad place. Bet I could get a bowl of gumbo there. My wife ate there. I am not a big crawdad fan. I was like, you know, when I was a kid and I played in the creek and we see a crawdad, we'd all be like, ew, and you'd be like, let's eat that. I'm like, no. I voted for myself. Made a sandwich. Oh, good. Hey, how's it going? So we are in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. on M Street. We are making our way. Actually, the Nike store is coming up, and then the Amazon retail outlet. A lot of homeless out. Crawdad, crayfish. I think crawdad is what we call it. I don't know. The vernacular of where I grew up is kind of quasi plain American English, quasi Southern Kentucky style English. Even though we're in Illinois. So people said crawdads. This is Nike. This is Amazon. Amazon all boarded up. Personally, I look at the plywood and say, I could break that. This is laundry. This is the macaroon place. I went to this place in Paris. It was yummy. Here you go, man. Do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Now there's a kitten restaurant down here. I don't think it's open right now. So this was a place where you could go and eat food with cats. Not eating cats, but eat food with cats. No, you know, I can't find any good fish and chips here. Certainly not any Australian, New Zealand style fish and chips. Kind of sucks. Yeah, they are all boarded up. Except the French bakery isn't boarded up. This is a cookie restaurant. I guess they're like, if you riot, you won't get cookies. so they didn't board up. Maybe they think rioters are logical. Arthur Treacher's remember that. The Georgetown post office is right back there. That used to be the customs house when Georgetown was a port. It's about 1 o'clock here in Washington, D.C. And we've been to the White House, and now we're in Georgetown. And we're just walking back up this road. Here come some of those escort bikes we saw earlier at the Vice President's house. Those are the outriders that go in front of Vice President Pence or the President when he's moving. This is the Apple store, painted black. You can't walk into the Apple store unless you get a fever check or plywood. That's safe. I'm not sure if it's still there. I'm not sure what's over there now. This whole area is pretty closed up. A lot of empty storefronts. Like this whole, every shop on that side is closed. Empty. Rents are too high. Business is too off. Well, it's now 1 o'clock. I need to make my way over to the school to deal with my kid. I think I'm going to leave you at Martin's Tavern here. Martin's Tavern, established 1933. John F. Kennedy, Truman, Eisenhower, Nixon, Bush, they all used to hang out here. I kid you not. In fact, it's said Kennedy proposed to his wife here. He wrote his inaugural address here. Nixon used to dine here. Eisenhower, Truman. They have booths like the Truman booth, the Kennedy booth, and stuff like that. So we'll leave you with that tavern. Back with those old days. I'm going to head out now, guys. Hope you enjoy this. See you next time. Always check my YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, Penguin6 for more content. I'll see you next time.